Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Alan.
And you are officially tuned in to the GG Dispatch. Each week on Tuesday, bright and early, we consolidate the week's biggest headlines in gaming news. Whether you're listening in on your commute, during your workout, or you just have us on in the background, we thank you for listening in. And speaking of thanks, another thank you to the kind folks at Audio Technica for providing the microphones that both Alan and I are using, the AT2020 USB-X. Whether you're just starting out on your content creator journey or you're a seasoned pro, Audio Technica has the products for you. All right. Didn't do as much progress in GTA 5 over this past week, but I did meet Mr. Trevor Phillips.
It's quite an introduction, huh?
Wow. Very compelling, very interesting character. Kind of, you get a little bit of the Franklin's background and that area of Los Santos and that sort of socioeconomic, snapshot. You get Michael and the nicer part of town, the nice house and the nice car and everything else, right? And then you get just totally whacked out, off the beaten path, druggy psychopath, it really runs the gamut, really, with the three characters.
It's kind of modeled off of California's Inland Empire, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So very, very interesting. And you definitely get that blend of kind of psychotic behavior, but also a guy who is very committed to his vision. Michael obviously is sort of the head of the operation, but you can tell how Trevor definitely, when he sets his mind to doing something, hardly anybody's going to be able to get in his way. So
yeah, it's also interesting how he kind of he's very much of sound mind. When you hear him, he knows that certain behaviors are more socially normal,
right,
when he's very polite and the way he speaks, and but so that unhingedness is that's just who he is. That's just a big part of his. It's not like he's completely out of his mind,
Yeah. So I'm really interested. I know the next few missions that I have, at least because as I mentioned, I'm kind of following a suggested path. So the next few missions I'll be doing are going to be with Trevor. So I'm gonna work on those this week. But it was interesting, when they introduced his trailer and his home base. I was like, can I go back to Michael's house? Because it's all dirty and gross, and there's roaches
and
everywhere.
I don't know if
garbage.
you have had the opportunity to do this or not, but you can totally drive from his house through the mountains, through the city to Michael's house. You can go from point to point. There's no load screen there. It's all one world. It's all one map.
Yeah.
Does that take you aback at all? How large it is and how many the diversity of places that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone on that road trip, but the fact that you can be connected from that place all the way to where Michael lives absolutely speaks to the breadth and depth of the GTA 5 map. And also, you see a lot of those open world map comparisons, right, to Los Santos or to the map in GTA 5 as sort of a benchmark, right? And so I think the more that I play this game, the more I'll be able to appreciate how large the map is, and when I'm looking at other open world maps in comparison, to be able to say wow, it's twice as big as the GTA 5 map. That's insane, or whatever the case might be. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to exploring a bit more of that map and seeing just how deep the rabbit hole goes. So
Yeah, I also before we move on, I thought it was really interesting. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but as you're playing with your character, you kind of bring up your phone and check text messages, check
yeah,
emails.
I saw it. His phone's all broken.
Yeah, but it even feels like they incorporate that so well. Of okay, this person likely has Michael has a kind of an eye device,
Right,
while
right.
Franklin has sort of like a more of an Android style, and
Yeah.
it looks like Trevor's rocking like a Windows phone.
Sure, sure, like off the grid, and also it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's super
broken,
busted
dirty,
and broken.
busted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I really, again, just those little touches, those little touches.
those little details, super important. Um, but yeah, so looking forward to my next chapters in GTA 5, but it's Trevor's an interesting
And
character.
have you
So
come across anything that's like stood out at all, where you kind of just hanging out and kind of like doing your thing, and something just kind of happens? Because there is
um
one thing in particular, but I don't want to spoil it. I kind of want that to happen to you, just as kind of your going about your business in Los Santos.
no, no, I haven't had anything organically happen that's kind of stood out to me just yet. I am swapping back and forth, like when it's time for the next chapter, as I'm following along, narratively, I am kind of hopping back and forth, and moving to that next story beat pretty quickly. So it might be that there's just not an opportunity for some of those more organic moments to be happening, but um, yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that and let you know if anything jumps out. But really, the it's the detail in some of the interactions, right, that the various characters have. um Whether it's, again, with the haircut thing, or like listening to the radio, hearing the Weasel news about stuff that's going on, being kind of immersed in the world that way. So um yeah, definitely getting elements of that. All right, well, it'll be fun to see what's in store for me with Trevor. I'm sure I'm going to get into a lot of trouble, and Michael is in big trouble as soon
Yeah,
as he
yeah,
finds
yeah.
out. It'll be interesting to see how that comes to a head. But in addition to spending some time with GTA 5, I also got my PS Pulse Elite headset this past week. So this is the new version of the kind of the PlayStation Pulse headset that released with the PlayStation 5. Um, and I love the Pulse headset. I did have to replace the cups a number of months ago. I just ordered a replacement set, like, like 2 or 3 months ago, for like $6 on Amazon or something, because the fabric or the material was starting to peel away a little bit. But other than that, I love the experience with the PS Pulse. And so as soon as I heard that they were releasing the new Elite version, integrating the magnetic planar technology from Odyssey, Sony bought Odyssey, and so they're using uh, that technology in their headphones. I was like, yes, like I want to upgrade my experience with this headset. And so far it's been awesome. Really simple connectivity, and the quality is great. The cups are comfortable. The material, it feels similar to what it had before, but it's still pretty comfortable. Mostly on ear, doesn't fully cover the ear, but mostly on ear, and really good sound isolation as well. Um, and then the microphone kind of slides out from the left side, which is it's honestly a pretty cool design. And yeah, so I've been really enjoying it. The microphone quality isn't the best. Like, it's it's okay. It's like nothing to write home about. But when it comes to the moment to moment quality of the audio in games, oh, it's really, really good. So um
And what's the price tag on that?
150. So it's 150.
Okay,
Um
so are
yeah.
those like the earbuds? No, you said it's the over ear, right?
Yeah, they're the actual headset. They also
Okay,
do have
okay.
the earbuds. I didn't get the buds, because I just like the headset design more for myself. And I
Gotcha.
think the
Yeah.
buds are a bit pricier too. I think they're like 230 or something. I don't remember.
So do you think that they're worth the price of admission? Because it's kind of a bit limited, right? Like to use that weirdo PlayStation like connection. It's not like Bluetooth or anything like that. It's sort of their
Right.
own thing that they rolled up on their own.
Yeah, and for me, I only used my pulse with my PlayStation. So like, it for me, it's not as limiting, quote unquote, because it's the same way that used my previous headset, and so that's not really changing. I already have, these great headphones from Audio Technica. Thanks, Audio Technica, that I use on my computer, and I've got my AirPods for my Bluetooth, Bluetooth uses, and then I use this Pulse Elite for my gaming. So it hasn't really limited it there. Now, you know, I would say it's worth the price of admission. Um, there are other headsets around the same price point that could give you a little bit more flexibility, but arguably you'll get better audio quality out of these headphones. You might not get as good mic quality as you could from some other headsets at the same, at the same price point. So it really just kind of depends. But um, I don't know, Alan. What's your audio setup like? What are you using when you're gaming, either on a console or on your PC? Are you using uh, the same hardware, or do you have a different set of hardware for each
So
application?
so what I use is just my TV speakers, dude. Like I don't get too like hardcore over it,
Okay.
but I do have no, sorry, not my TV speakers. The sound bar. The sound bar.
Okay. Cool. What soundbar do you
Remember
have? Is
that
it like Bose
that
or
sound
something?
bar that I reviewed for the Geekly Grind like what was it, like 7 years ago? The Vizio? It
Oh
was
my
like one
gosh!
of the
Really?
first hard yeah, it's still working and it
That's
still
awesome.
kicks butt.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like I know that people like, oh no, like the newer soundbars have like the whole HDMI setup
Hmm.
where like you pipe everything in through there and then it kind of like has like the audio return channel to the TV and everything.
Hmm.
Um, but what I do is because it's a bit older, but it works out better for me. I think is as an optical out. So my TV has an optical out. So all I do is just connect that one optical out to the TV, and so any device doesn't matter if it's the Apple TV or my Xbox or my PS5 or whatever, like it all goes to the soundbar. So it's
Hmm.
just a very clean setup. And then when I game online with friends, I'm using an old I think it's like a 12-year-old Turtle Beach headset.
We got to get you a new
It's still
headset. We got to reach
I
out to
know.
Turtle Beach, see if they'll. Hey, Turtle Beach, if you're listening, let's send Alan a headset over. He'll take good care of
Yeah,
you.
I bought it like on a Black Friday like in
Yeah.
2012 and it's still going. And again, it works with optical. So like what I do is I kind of put it's like a little box that's like separate from the headset that kind of does all the processing.
Hmm.
But you're able to basically use a pass through as a pass through device. So everything that goes to my soundbar also goes through there. So I can use it to chat with my friends on my Xbox. I can use it to chat with my friends on my PlayStation, PC, whatever, and it just kind of works. And that's why I've been kind of like, should I upgrade? Because this all just works really well.
Right. Right. Yeah, and there's definitely an element of if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Especially in the market now. I think there are some really good options out there for 100, between the, 75 to $100 mark. I think around 150 you start to get into some really solid territory. It used to be that if you want like premium, you had to go into like $300-400 territory, but now I feel like there are a lot of fantastic options sub 200, which is
The
nice.
one thing that annoys me, and the reason why I haven't like had like a real like pressing need to upgrade my current headset
Hmm.
is that like it just works with everything, and it's nowadays I find that it's really hard. It's kind of either like tailored to Xbox or tailored to PlayStation. I think Logitech came out with one like earlier this year
Hmm.
during CES, but it's like 250, but it's supposed to work with like anything. So that if I upgrade, it'll be to something like that. Like it has to be
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You
hey,
want the
we promise
flexibility.
that it's gonna work with whatever. Like I don't want to have one headset for Xbox, one headset for PlayStation, one headset for Switch or whatever. Like please, just
Yeah,
give me one headset. It'll work with whatever it is that I've got.
yeah, for sure. And definitely, the versatility is definitely valuable. I think if you are somebody who previously used the PS Pulse, the Elite is a great option. I think I think it's about $100, or not 100. It's about $50 more than the original Pulse was on release, because I believe it was $100 or $99 for the Pulse, and this one's 149. But if you enjoyed that experience, the Pulse Elite is 100% worth it, in my opinion. Um,
Okay.
if you're looking for something that's a bit more universal, then perhaps taking a closer look at like the Logitech option or something like that might be a better buy overall. But if you enjoy the Pulse ecosystem, or like you had the Pulse headset before, then absolutely it's worth the upgrade, in my opinion.
No, yeah, like for sure, age wise, like I could use an upgrade. Like one of the annoying things is that I use rechargeable batteries, so like I'm constantly having to like rotate out batteries on my headset.
Oh yeah, you have like plugged into your wall, like with like the double A's.
Exactly, exactly. Like I would
Nice.
like something with like a built-in just USB-C charger, like everything else in my life,
Yeah,
and get good battery life out of it. So, but yeah, like it's definitely time. I just need to find like the right thing that I know is going to work with my setup, and I'll happily upgrade. Because yeah, it's been a while. This Turtle Beach one has served me well for 12 years now.
that's a great ad for Turtle Beach, right? It's been kicking for 12 years, still going.
Yep.
Um, and it's funny, your rechargeable battery thing makes me think. Remember when they had the batteries where you could check the battery life by putting your thumb on the end of it and on the front? Like you could press your thumbs on either
Oh,
side to see the
vaguely.
battery life. You
I
remember that?
vaguely remember that.
Oh man, that was. I remember that was like the craziest thing. I was like, oh man, I can see how much battery is in this, is left in this, in this set of batteries for my Game Boy, and then I can go and charge them, and then I don't have to buy batteries again.
No,
Um,
I wish mine had those. Like, I'm just guessing at this point. I'm like, I guess I need to charge them again now.
yeah.
But they work all right. I have like the Sanyo any loops that you just kind of plug in, so
Okay.
they've been good to me. But yeah, it's starting to get up there in age, my setup.
Yeah. All right. Well, so yeah, I've been enjoying my time with the PS Pulse Elite, and what has been, you know, kind of playing in my ears, in addition to GTA 5 and finishing up Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which I did this last week, was the Unicorn Overlord demo. So
Yeah, I saw you tweeting a lot about this.
yeah, this is man, this is my shit. But I'm really liking this game. But first, I wanted to ask you, Alan, like, are you into like strategy RPGs? Is this the sort of game that like you normally would play, or you've been interested, or are you kind of looking at it like, hey, you know what, like cool for people who like that sort of thing, but it's not really for you?
Yeah, cool for people who love it. Not particular for me. Maybe if it comes to Game Pass, I'll check it out. But
Okay, okay,
it
yeah.
just depends.
Well, I won't take up too much time glowing about this game. What I will say is, if you enjoy strategy RPGs, if you enjoy tactical RPGs with like a kind of retro overworld exploration element and that amazing vanillaware aesthetic, you are going to love Unicorn Overlord. It is so incredibly like crunchy when it comes to the various mechanics and systems of like recruiting soldiers, setting them up for like various like growth paths. Like if you want, a naturally weaker or like lower defense unit to try and address that weakness or gap by focusing on defense, or really turning your damage dealers into glass cannons, like you can do that as well. You can develop rapport among certain key NPCs so that if they're placed in the same unit as you, they perform even better. There's really cool relationship dynamics, and just overall, it's amazing. It's like the most crazy game of rock paper scissors you've ever played, with an amazing aesthetic during the battles and a really cool overworld. Um, and yeah, I've been loving it, loving it. And this whole like uh trend lately of having a demo, like having a fairly substantial
Yeah,
demo that can then translate into the main game, like, oh my god, I'm all about that. Like it's so cool.
yeah. FF7
um
did it. This did it. Uh,
yeah,
it's. I think it's a good trend. People, get a chance to kind of play it, kind of get the hype train going.
yeah,
And that it carries over is also a really nice feature.
yeah. Grand Blue Fantasy did it too. So like there've been a few games recently where it's like, hey, check out this demo, and then like if you do the demo, you unlock things when you actually play the game. But particularly for Unicorn Overlord, it's great because like, no, literally, like play this game for 4 hours, or 7 hours is actually the cap on the demo, and it's taking you through the first like 4 to 7 hours of the game. Um, and so when you go to pick up the game, you're like, cool, like I've hit the ground running, like I already know I'm loving this combat and everything else. So, um, if if you've been looking forward to Unicorn Overlord, presumably you've downloaded the demo and played it and you love it. If you haven't really had it on your radar, and this is the kind of game that you enjoy, pre-order it. Go get it. It comes out on March 8th. So it's going to be pushing up against your Rebirth, play time. If you're trying to do both like I am. But
You're insane.
I know. Oh God, I know. I'm going to focus on Rebirth first, and then I'll go to this game. But it's really
It
exciting and cool that it's going to be going,
is it multiplat or just PS5 or
a multi-platform. So Switch, PS5, PS4, and then also Xbox Series S and X. I didn't see anything about it being on Game Pass, but maybe it'll come to Game Pass later.
come to Game Pass?
I mean, they've done it with Persona. So I mean, Atlas has done it with Persona. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it to Game Pass eventually. Um, so yeah, if it goes to Game Pass, I'll let you know. We'll make sure to let the people know. But yeah, super excited for it. Looking forward to digging into it properly, sharing my full thoughts once I can do that. But enough about all of that. We spent 20 minutes chit-chatting away, and we still haven't gotten to our news for the week. We've got 6 stories today. Starting with some news that I know Alan is very excited about and has been gloating and lording
Yeah.
over me all week long. Nintendo Switch 2 rumored to be coming in March 2025. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Nintendo's next game console is targeting a launch in March 2025. That's according to a new report by Japanese news publication Nikkei, which claims that the Switch's successor's internal delay, reported first by VGC and others earlier this month, was partly so that Nintendo could avoid potential hardware supply issues. Although Nintendo had planned a launch date in late 2024 for the Switch 2, according to Nikkei, priority was given to ensure the initial inventory of the successor console and a lineup of software titles at the time of its launch in an attempt to avoid widespread reselling. Nikkei says it expects the next Nintendo console to again be a hybrid portable home device similar to Switch. The publication also corroborates that the machine will have a larger screen than the original Switch's 6.2-inch display. Nikkei notes that the Switch 2 could yet slip beyond March 2025, dependent on manufacturing and how much software is ready for launch. VGC has heard from multiple sources who said Nintendo had told publishers its next console would now launch in Q1 2025, and third-party game companies were recently briefed on an internal delay, etc., etc. So, all right, Alan, it's looking like the stars are aligning. I
Get
think
that fat juicy W.
yeah, you're gonna cash in that W for some tickets. But yeah, I mean, any other thoughts as you're kind of seeing more of this news coming out? And anything else that's kind of maybe coming to mind in terms of maybe additional titles that you would like to see come to the Switch in this coming year, or potential launch titles for next year as the release date begins to firm up.
Well, like for launch, like you always like to see a Mario game at launch. Too soon for a Zelda. Like, I really, really, really want this thing to be backwards compatible, and like give us the boost. Do it, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh, it's running at 30, blah blah blah. Give us, you know, Breath of the Wild, all these old school games. Not old school, but like all these older titles from like 2017 onward.
old school 2017. Oh God. I mean, it's
Give
true.
us
It's getting
60
there. It's getting
FPS.
there.
Give us 60 FPS. Smooth, nice. Um, but also, I know part of my saying like, oh, it's 2025, like, but also give us the magical remakes. I want to see that Wind Waker remake on the
Yeah.
Switch. It's like it's time, 60 FPS. It's gonna look gorgeous on that OLED display. Give it to us,
Yeah.
and that's about it, really. After
Yeah.
that, I'm sure there are other games. I'm sure that deserve a magical remake, and I hope we get as many of them as possible, as they kind of like bide their time for the Switch 2.
I'm just continually I'm still very surprised, honestly. I'm still kind of processing the news because I feel like it is such a gap. Like it's such a like 8 years is a long time, I feel like, for a console. And
I feel like it was always a plan. I think they're just throwing out the whole hardware supply. Like the hardware supply has been done with. That's an old story.
right.
Uh, I think that 2025 was always the plan. They always going to try to like stretch this out as much as possible and get
Hmm.
as many of those units out and try to get that attachment rate to those consoles as high as possible in all their games before putting out the Switch 2.
Yeah, for sure. Um, but we'll see. I'm really interested in seeing what's coming out. I think Metro. I'm still gunning for Metroid Prime 4 as a launch for the Switch 2. Um,
I don't know if it'll
yeah,
be ready.
I don't
I
know
think probably
either.
2026
I
is
don't know
it feels
either.
more right. 2026,
Yeah,
just because of the
but
way
like
that
you said,
game
like a
just
mainline
like
Mario, I don't
rebooted.
know. Zelda's too soon. I
But
mean,
Mario is time. Mario, like I know they had
well, they had
Wonder,
Wonder.
but
Yeah,
like
not a
that's not like an
3D.
Odyssey style type
Sure,
game. You know what
sure.
I mean? Like
Yeah,
that. It's been 7-ish
yeah,
years
yeah.
since Odyssey. Like, there's
So
no way they spent 7 years working on Wonder.
true. I mean, there were stories about how they sort of like removed the whole like deadline thing for Wonder so that the developers could play around and everything. But yeah, I think they probably have a separate team that's been working on that for a while. But
Yeah, for sure.
time will tell. And also Smash, right?
That too.
We're
Like,
due for a new Smash title, right? So
honestly, I think they could just put it out as like because they have all that DLC that's not has never been put on the cart. They could put out when the Switch 2 launches. Like the I don't know, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate
Ul-
Ultima.
Ultimate Melee Deluxe Superb Supreme.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then it's like, oh, it runs at I don't know whatever FPS, but like the main thing is you're getting all the DLC all in like one thing.
yeah. Um, yeah, we'll see. All right. So, story number 2. Helldivers 2 servers have been beefed up and now supports 800,000 concurrent players. No more queuing up, says Senchi Saxena from IGN. Uh, Helldivers 2 has had several updates recently. The server capacity was boosted once again, and the developer addressed the lack of DLSS support. Um, and so they've been racking up a massive player base since release. And so far, I think the highest concurrent count that they have is 458,000, which again is like dwarfs anything that Sony had done before. But yeah, and the CEO also of Arrowhead has been on Twitter, just being a super cool guy about things, and engaging with the community, about their concerns, and just sort of being very transparent about the challenge of meeting this sort of demand when it comes to a live service or online game, which is really great. But yeah, I for one, as a lover of democracy, and a hater of bugs and automatons, am glad to see the increased concurrent player limit. And I'm really interested to see how Arrowhead maintains the momentum for this game. I think we had talked about this, Alan, right? Like, how will we be talking about Helldivers 2 at the end of the year, right? um
Yeah, for sure.
what's the concurrent count going to look like? How do they keep people involved? And I think there's definitely plenty of opportunity for them to do so if they roll out new enemy types, if they have more of these sort of like community events like double XP, or pushing to secure a certain planet, or anything like that, or a certain system. So I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity there for them to meet the
What
demand that
made me think
Helldivers
like what
is.
they might have a shot is that Greg Miller, kind of funny, retweeted someone who was kind of like looking at the overall map and kind of like, oh wait, if you look at this and this, it might mean that this and this and this is gonna happen. So like, it seems like there is enough lore there to like get people even like off the tiniest bits like going and having theories of where the game is going next. So it seems like the game is a lot deeper than we might have given it credit for.
Yeah,
And if that is the case, then yeah, it'll keep going. Like if people start like doing deep lore dives, 30-minute YouTube videos on like where is it going next? Where are we gonna go spread democracy next?
yeah,
Then it's got a good shot at staying around.
yeah. I think so. There's a lot of runway here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Arrowhead does. Um, so next story, a bit of a bummer, unfortunately, but not not too unfamiliar in this landscape that we're in, Supermassive Games sees a reorganization and lays off 90 employees. This is from Taylor Lyles at IGN. Supermassive Games, a studio best known for making choice-filled horror games that are borderline interactive movies, announced that it's planning to lay off employees as job losses continue to devastate the gaming industry. In a statement posted on Twitter, the developer acknowledged the challenges of the gaming industry is currently facing with mass layoffs and that it was not immune to this. It stated that it was undertaking a reorganization of its studio and planned to enter into a period of consultation, which would affect some of its employees. Though Supermassive did not disclose how many employees are affected, Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier, Jason, you sneaky son of a gun, wrote before the announcement that the British developer planned to lay off around 90 workers. The Supermassive Games opened its doors in 2008, but the studio made a name for itself in 2015 with the release of Until Dawn. In the years since, Supermassive has established itself as a horror game developer specializing in narrative-driven games, emphasizing player choice. I mean, just just another notch, a notch on the wall. There are over 6,000 jobs that have been impacted in the gaming industry alone, I believe. That was called out in this article as well. And it's tough to see, like, especially for, I feel like, the mid to smaller studios, like mid-sized to smaller studios, they're definitely taking the brunt of it. Because when they have to lay off, this 90 workers is like 30% of this team. Like,
Yeah, it's a big deal.
it's a big deal, right? Like, that's not a small amount of people. And so when you lose that talent, it's not like, and of course, any layoffs are terrible, but when you have a layoff from like Activision Blizzard or from a company that has like many thousands of employees that might have some redundancy, overlapping skill sets, etc., there's a little bit more opportunity to say, like, okay, well, they lost that, narrative designer or level designer or whatever, but they have some other folks who have done some really great work on other titles that can come and kind of fill that gap, and they're still around. When layoffs like this happen at those smaller studios, it's like you are losing tribal knowledge. Like, you're losing folks who have contributed a lot to that company, and very likely you're going to miss out on an opportunity for innovation, for the next cool thing out of Supermassive Games, because one of the 3 out of every 10 people are now gone, and one of those 3 probably had something of value to offer that you can't necessarily like patch over with a higher head count, right?
Yeah, like one of the interesting things I saw, I think it was one of the directors of F7 Rebirth, and I might have mentioned this in a prior episode, but like basically said like 90% of that crew came back from remake, and like it was really easy to go and say like, oh yeah, I have a question about this thing. It's like, oh yeah, go talk to Bob. Bob's Bob's got the details you need, and like for them he said it was really important because he said that without that sort of retention, like it would
Right.
have taken them even longer to finish the game. So like this is the way. Like you got to keep your team together because when you lose talent, you lose you know organizational communication of like who do I go to, who has this, who does that. But you know, 2024 is gonna 2024. It seems like it's probably gonna be a thing we talk about all year long. Is like more layoffs, more layoffs, more layoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I agree. I saw that the commentary from the Rebirth director as well, and it's just like, maintaining that institutional knowledge is so important to like continue the flow, right? Like, to maintain a streamlined development of things, and even for future projects, right? Like, you can go back to that person and say, hey, what were some of your lessons learned, right? Like, what did you
Yeah,
get wrong? What did you get right? Like, that's literally what you want to do in successful like project management, right? Is you want to be able to retain some of those lessons and carry them forward to future projects or future programs. And so when you have these layoffs, those lessons are no longer learned, right? So quite a bummer. All right, we've got uh now for some more exciting news. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree release date was announced.
People
There
lost it,
was
Jeremy. People lost it.
I know people went nuts, and including myself. I also went nuts. Um, so the trailer for this is super awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, the gameplay trailer is sick. There are some really cool new like Ashes of War. There's an awesome like spin kick move. Like there's some melee elements going on, and people were just freaking out over. Um, so the game is set to come out on June 21st. I've already marked my calendar to take the day off, which will be awesome. It's going to take place in a parallel world to the lands between with an inverted version of the Erdtree. So it's like an upside down kind of corrupted version of the Erdtree. And Michaela is going to play a central role to the narrative. So, um, you know, folks who aren't familiar with Elden Ring lore, go play Elden Ring or go to Wikipedia and read up on it. That's fine. But for folks who are familiar with Elden Ring, Miquella is sort of uh, like a former lord figure, kind of like related to some of the like various gods of this world, and kind of maintained this they said like a kind of like childlike appearance, and was locked away in if you go and fight Mog the Blood Lord, you see like their hand coming out of this like cocoon type thing. And it's just they're just kind of chilling there, right? And apparently that is going to be where you enter this DLC, right? That's where you're going to be able to enter this new area of the world, and the map is said to be about as large as Limgrave. Um, I have to validate this. I don't know for sure, but I've been like when I've been hearing buzz and chatter, people are like, "Well, it's not going to be like a one for one map. That would be ridiculous." But they said it's going to be about the same size as Limgrave, and there are going to be a good handful, like half a dozen boss battles or so, maybe more, probably more actually. And they're all going to be very high level, right? Because you're going into DLC. Presumably, you're on New Game Plus or something. You've been running around killing things. You're probably level like 100 and whatever. And so these will be more high level encounters for you to go and enjoy. And it's going to fill in some more of that juicy Elden Ring lore. Um, it's going to be awesome. I'm super stoked for it. So, Alan, did you get into Elden Ring a ton when this game was out, or you're not really
Not
into
at
Elden
all.
Ring? No.
Not
Okay.
at all. But like I've watched kind of funny playthroughs, and it looked fun. It's just not like a game that I'm particularly good at. That's that Bloodborne, I guess, or Blood
Oh, it's the
Soul
Souls
style.
likes Souls
Yeah,
likes.
the Souls
Yeah.
like. And like I kind of keep up with the lore. It's interesting that those are the tidbits you got on social media.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the only things that I got were like people feeling all kind of feelings for this fella named Mesmer the Impaler.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah,
feeling
the
all
new
kinds
guy.
of different ways, and that's what
Sure.
I got from it.
Yeah. Yeah. The villain for this DLC looks intriguing, and definitely there were a lot of thirsty folks on the internet talking about this Impaler character. Of course, that came hot on the heels of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo expansion into Junon, which included, I think, Tifa and Aerith both in, or Aerith both in uh, swimsuits, and Tifa's swimsuit in
Oh, so that's
particular.
from the June. I thought that was like someone had like gotten a preview because it was like the only clip I've seen is Japanese. I thought it was like a reviewer who like, oh, look at this funny clip
Oh,
that the one that I got was
it might be from that. I wasn't
because
sure if it came
because
out from the demo or not.
yeah, I was under the impression like Junon was like sort of like kind of a desert sort of plateaus and there was no beach that I'm aware of. And
Right,
again,
right.
that's the only
That was
clip I've seen
Costa del Sol.
circulating
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's Costa del Sol. That's a good call out. So yeah, that I think kind of circled around. I haven't gotten into the Junon demo because I'm trying to save the actual game for I'm
Yeah,
done
at
with
this
the
point,
demo.
like
I did the Hero of Nibelheim thing and kind of got a feel for the combat and everything, and
same.
um, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I've got like
same.
3 days. I got 3 days left.
I'm just
Uh,
playing through the Yuffie DLC. That's my
yeah,
last little bit that I gotta, uh, I guess,
knockout.
finish up, and then I'll be ready. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Cool. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Shadow of the Erdtree. I think it'll be a good time. And hopefully, if you are an Elden Ring fan, you had a chance to check out this trailer. If you haven't yet, go and watch it. You too will. You will believe it. You will believe the hype. All right. Last story. Oh no, sorry. Two more stories. Nobuo Uematsu doubts that he'll ever do a full, or doubts that he will ever compose a full game score again. Kind of sad news, but also not wholly unexpected. Uh, so this is from Ed Nightingale at Eurogamer. Legendary Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu probably won't compose the score for a whole game again. The composer was interviewed by German publication Zeit Online ahead of his new orchestral piece, Mergenon Heart of Ice, and discussed whether he might compose an entire score in the future. As far as Final Fantasy is concerned, I'm still involved by writing the main themes for the games, he said, but I don't think I'll compose music for a whole game again. You would have to give it full throttle for 2 or 3 years, and I don't think I have the physical and mental strength to do it anymore. I think I'd rather use the time left to work on other projects that I love, such as compositions like Mernan on or my band Uematsu Nobuo Kontiki. Most recently, Uematsu composed the main theme for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, due out later this week, though the full score is from a variety of composers. Um, his last full score was for Fantasian, which was the Apple Arcade. This was the game I was telling you about. Apple Arcade exclusive mobile RPG developed by Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi. Um, so, uh, always a bummer to kind of see these legends of the RPGs of yesteryear sort of, taking a step back and sort of not fading away, right? But just that not nearly as prevalent they were, in the 90s, right? So, um, bummed, but I wish him all the best in all of his future compositions. Everything that he's done has been amazing, and I
Yeah,
hope
enjoy
that he
retirement.
enjoys his retirement. Yeah, I know.
Just give
I
us
mean,
like a song or two and we're good.
yeah, I mean, it's selfishly like I want to keep hearing things from him forever and ever. But of course, he should
Oh
enjoy
yeah,
his
it's like
retirement.
he just pops off on every soundtrack he's on. It's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. It's also slightly related. Like they've been posting some like acoustic like guitar remixes of Chrono Trigger songs. Um, and
Nice.
they've been getting posted on. I don't remember the account, but I've seen a couple of them come up. One was for like Magus's theme, and I think there was another one for Shala's theme or something, or for uh, Days Gone By or something like that. But I hear them and I'm just like, oh my god, like that's what really makes me want that remastered game again. Like I wonder if they're just like teasing us with these like little Easter eggs. I'm just like, are you trying to tell us something? And if you are, just come out and say it. So we'll see if that turns into anything. But all right, Alan, you got one more for us on the Xbox games.
Yep, yep, yep. So basically, Nintendo had the direct last week, and part of it was them basically announcing the games that are coming to Nintendo Switch. And as part of that sort of announcement, Microsoft kind of let them have their moment in the sun there. They mentioned it during that Xbox podcast. They were like, "Yeah, we're gonna let our partners, announce certain things." But they also had a blog post of their own on Xbox Newswire, where they kind of like finally officially announced the games that they were like hesitant to do during the podcast. So some of the games going to the Nintendo Switch are Grounded and Pentiment, and the PlayStation 5 is getting Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, but also Grounded and Pentiment. So a couple of games go to a couple of different consoles. To me, the interesting part was that like Pentiment was just like dropped in a montage, like
Hmm.
no respect at all for that game. But I'm like, hey, if you're Xbox, aren't you like a little bit annoyed that they didn't even bother to give it like the narrator of like, oh, from this crazy world where you're doing this and that, like the way Grounded got.
Right,
It's
right.
just kind of wild to me that they just did that. Um, it's also really crazy to see that Hi-Fi Rush, which had big Switch energy, like not coming to the Switch. Like it's going to be a
Hmm.
PS5 only game. But yeah, those were the four games coming to other consoles and the consoles they're coming to.
Yeah. that is crazy that Hi-Fi Rush didn't end up going to the Switch, or at least it's not going to the Switch right now. It seems like it's such a great fit for the Switch and more of that
Yeah,
naturally
yeah.
portable play. Um, just wild. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what's to come after, what additional games might end up going to other platforms, etc. But now at least we have the initial 4 titles that were discussed in the podcast, and from there, people are welcome to speculate and guess what titles are going to be making the move next. Um, all right, well, that's all that we have for the news. And I don't think we have anything for the deals corner today, do we, Alan?
No, unfortunately. I will say that if you've been thinking about maybe getting an Xbox Series S, be on the lookout because I've kind of seen it somewhat consistently drop to 220 at different retailers like Walmart and Target. But they sell out pretty quick. But it seems like that's like a thing that they might be doing more of, and maybe even I think it'd be cool to see like a price drop like to 199.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, be on the lookout. They're showing up a little more often. Xbox Series S for roughly 220.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great deal. All right, well then, that's all that we have for you all today. Until next time, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Alan.
Keep gaming, everybody.
See ya.